Welcome to Living Martial Arts with Master Ray Gale, aka the Dark Master. Living Martial Arts discuss and examines the everyday exercise, philosophy, and lifestyle of the martial arts enthusiast. The host talks about his own training, past and present, and he also interviews many martial artists to discover how they continue to live their own martial arts journey. Tune in for top tips on how to get the best out of your martial art. Or perhaps you're thinking of starting a martial art. This podcast offers you an easy way to dip your toe in. Sign up for the newsletter at livingmartialarts.com and get regular updates and training tips direct to your inbox. Follow the Dark Master on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Living Martial Arts.
Hello and good day to all the Living Martial Arts podcasts. I have a fantastic, real treat for you today, and I'm so excited that I have this guest with me today. Somebody who is a legend, I believe, and I've heard his name so many times, and I'm sure you have. I'd like to introduce Grandmaster Wim Bos to the Living Martial Arts podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you, Master, and also thank you for inviting me to have a nice talk with you.
Oh, great! I'm very excited because, as I said, you were quite instrumental and influential, actually, in my recent start in ITF Taekwondo when PUMA martial arts were formed, and you came over to help us with Major General Choi at the time, and it was a fantastic weekend, a very difficult weekend for me, but it was a great weekend, and I thank you for that, because I'm not sure if I thanked you, but I will thank you now. Thank you.
Well, at least I did something good.
Yes, definitely. Well, without further ado, as I always do on this podcast, I'd like to get just a bit of an overview, and I know that when I ask this question, it can take many weeks, but unfortunately we haven't got many weeks. But I just wanted to perhaps you can let our guests know, how your martial arts, your Taekwondo journey began.
Yeah, that goes back for a long time. Yeah, let's say I started in September '69.
Okay.
So yeah. And I was quite lucky because, I went to a gym after playing football. On my way home, I saw in a gym people were training with a white kimono. I went inside. I asked, can I join? I joined. I did not like it. I did not like the lesson. Well, anyhow, a few months later, one of my friends, his brother was also a teacher in Taekwondo. He was a brown belt because we did not have red belts at that time. Maybe you remember that. But anyhow, he was brown belt. So, and my friend said, my brother, we do a lot of sparring. I said, okay, I come with you maybe one evening. So I went there and I stayed. Until now, I'm still there. Because there was a lot of sparring and I loved the sparring. I mean, the patterns was also okay, but the sparring was that was really something that I really liked. So I did some months. And 3 times a week, I got my green belt, and from that moment, just a moment, sir, just a moment.
Okay, okay, no worries. Okay, that's fine. We can continue. No problem.
Yeah, sorry, because my wife came home. So.
Oh no, that's okay.
So we did a lot of sparring in the gym, and I really liked that. So after my green belts, I decided to train a little bit more. So it went for 5 times a week, 6 times a week. And that always have been, let's say, more of my life. Training every day, putting efforts, trying to get better. So then I became a regional coach. I became a national coach of Holland. Had a lot of success with the Dutch team. And then I came to Italy, started to work here, moved here in 1990. So 32 years ago. Wow. So I'm more Italian now than I'm Dutch. Taekwondo is always the same. It's always starts with a T.
Yes.
Ends with a Do. So it's always a pleasure to go to the gym and to see my students and to train with my students and
Yeah, sure.
abroad. Yeah, just to enjoy and to.
Yeah. Well, I think that's well, what I would say that the contrast there. You mentioned your first lesson, or when you first started, you didn't like it very much. Why was that? Was it just because was it the discipline, or was it the fact that I don't know why was it like that first?
When I came to the gym, I think I was the youngest.
Oh, I see.
First of all, because in that time, Taekwondo was for elder people. It was not for young. It was not for 15, 16 years. It was more or less, let's say, maybe 30. Well, I don't know, but it was elder people. And we did one blue belt. He came to me, and I needed to do, let's say, abdominal chirurgy and walking stance, up and down, and then a low block, up and down. I did not like that. That was not very dynamic. I did not like that traditional stuff, let's say like that.
Yeah, but it was very much like that. I remember when I started, going up and down the dojang and doing maybe low block and middle block for 1 hour. Just now, if I did that now to my students, I think they'd leave.
Well, you will have nobody in your gym.
in my class, so it was very, very, very different. And it's funny. Sometimes I tell my younger students how it was, the change. As you mentioned, when I started, it was all guys who wanted to fight. There was no children, there was no women.
Yeah.
Everybody that was it, and you got hurt most lessons.
Oh yes.
And it was tough, but see, my thing was I like the physical challenge. It wasn't so much, I like the sparring, but it was I like doing the press ups and staying fit. That was my thing. More so than the actual martial art at the time. I don't know whether that was your thing. Whether you like that side of it. I know you like the sparring, but what about the sort of fitness and the exercises?
Well, in those years, that was not really, you had a program, no, that like people now have, there are so many exercises to do. But when we talk about the 70s, I mean, my instructor, he was a brown belt. So what did he know? I mean, most of the people in the structures in those years, they all came from judo. Yeah. Because Taekwondo was brought in Holland in 1966. So I started 1968, 69. So it was just a very fresh martial arts.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So those instructors that were teaching, they were not really, let's say, capable as we are now in teaching very well. But anyhow, I also enjoyed the physical part and exactly of being hurt and hurting other people. That I really like that.
Yeah. But very, very much so. You see, I think that was the thing. You had to love it then to stay. Otherwise, you weren't going to stay.
I remember, for example, my head instructor, our head instructor, he was a military guy. He was a commando guy. He was a tough man. And I remember when we did one-step sparring. So I had one of my friends or one of my colleagues. We did it really tough because we were so afraid that he would do with us.
Yes.
So it was really, it was yellow here. It was purple there. If you do it now, the people, they will sue you.
Well, yeah, that's very true. I did my my gradings up to second degree with Grandmaster Riki Ha. And when we were blocking, we had to make sure that we blocked properly. Otherwise, he said, "No, do it again. That's not strong enough."
Yeah, that it all changed in the years. Now everything changed because, we changed too. Because also we get older.
Yes,
and it is more related to discipline. Of course, that's normal. But also the social life is very important with the people in the gym. I mean, they also want to have a thing to say and so on and so on. And meanwhile, they are training. I mean, I talk a lot with them, and I think the people enjoy that much more. They are more relaxed than we were. I mean, I was never relaxed, to be honest with you. Always over concentrated because I was so afraid of my instructor.
Well, again, I think that was the case. My instructor was also military as well. I think in those days, most of the people were military people, and if we were in the wrong stance or our block was too high, he'd just come up and punch or kick you, and say, right, make sure you're blocking the correct place. And so next time you make sure your hand was in the right place.
Yeah, you learn very fast.
Yes, yeah. Very, very, very much indeed. You mentioned about coaching the Dutch team. I found coaching very difficult myself, in the sense that when I was coaching, and I think my last coaching was maybe 2002 in Argentina, Junior World Championships. And I found it difficult because I just wanted to get in and do it myself, and be a competitor again. But I decided, well, I'd had my time, so I actually came away from coaching. Did you find it hard, that transition from competitor to coach?
Well, you have to be sometimes a little bit realistic in your life, no? Because I had a lot of very good competitors in my gym.
Yes.
So I became 7 or 8 times national championship in Holland in a row. Mm. And then I had other competitors. They were also very good in my weight class. I didn't find it correct that as an instructor took the place of one of my students. So it was time for me to say, okay, let's give all my time to my competitors and train them, and step aside as yourself as competitor and become more instructor and coach to them. So that transition took place in 1979. That's a long time ago. And in that time, I became also assistant coach in Holland. Hmm. So then I think in 1980, we were in Crystal Palace in London.
Yes. I remember seeing you there. I was there.
Yeah. And I was coach of the assistant coach there. And as I spoke, let's say, quite well English, and our head coach, he was a fantastic competitor on those days, our head coach, but he couldn't speak English. So I took over a little bit, the whole thing there, and so on and so on. And then 1981, he stepped back. 1982, he stepped back, and I became head coach in Holland. So, I mean, it went very, very fast, everything. It was a few years that I just, from competitor, became the coach. And then we were in Glasgow in the World Championships with the Dutch team, and we became world champion. And I had another 3 or 4 individual champions in that time. So let's say I became a little bit famous as a coach.
Yes.
so there was no going back anymore. I only could go forward.
Yeah. I was looking forward to that competition in 1983 because I was still competing, and unfortunately at that time we had the big split in the UK where the TAGB split from the UKTA. So my instructor went, and I didn't get a chance to competing it. I competed the year after in Los Angeles at Grandmaster Heel Cho's competition. But it was an interesting time in the early 80s. There was a lot happening at that time. So but well done to you and your team on that.
Yeah, it was a nice time. I look back with a very nice memory. But all the competitions you look back, because sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Yes. It's important to enjoy what you're doing, and make sure that your competitors are being cared of, and that you are one team with them. That they have to feel that you care for them, even you are maybe the master or whatever, grandmaster. I really am not so much involved in that master stuff. For me, it's more important that when I go with my competitors somewhere, I really want. I mean, I'm like a father to them, This is my always have been my way to be as close as possible to them and to give the best what we can do. But that's not also in the social life is like that.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that approach because I think that it's something that I've tried to foster myself, to be close to my students, and so they can approach me and ask me and not be afraid. And I think that's very, very important, and it makes for a very, very successful relationship, but also a successful team as well. So definitely. I have to say that I'm very, very jealous of you and your flexibility in your in more senior years, because I had a unfortunately a hip operation about 15 years ago. Yeah, which it was a difficult hip operation. I lost a lot of my flexibility, but I remember coming to the IIC and seeing you and thinking, wow. I would love to still be able to do that. So my question to you is that, did you have a certain amount of natural flexibility? Was it something that you worked really hard with? I'm assuming you worked hard with it anyway, because, no matter what you have, you still have to maintain it.
I think it's always an investment of time when you do something or you want to achieve something. So I already told you that after I became a green belt, I started training almost every day. And luckily, in that time, there was nobody who could teach you stretching, because in that time, there was no stretching. I mean, you did some exercise, but nobody could really teach stretching.
Sure.
So I found a book of stretching from Dan Anderson. It was on the English markets.
Oh, yes,
I found the book, and I started to apply that, let's say, static stretching. Yeah. And I used those exercises, and I did it really every day, and I still do it every day.
Yeah.
Now I'm more in the dynamic stretching. I like the dynamic stretching. So I do most of the time. Yeah, I do the dynamic stretching, and that's something that really makes you better. But unfortunately, people do not understand. I'm sorry. I want to be criticized people, or I don't want to be negative, but and I also don't want to be always too nice when I say something, but really, people do not put efforts.
No.
In the old martial arts, in the 50 years, I'm more than 50 years in martial arts, and I see so many people that have a high degree. They don't put efforts to become flexible or to remain flexible. I mean, for them, it's just, okay, we go to the degrees and we get a 7 degree, 8 degree, whatever degree what people have. But you also have to imagine that every day is a day. If you do not stress, you lose one day.
Yes.
And therefore, I have always done it. And from the beginning, I played football, so I was not flexible at all. But in a few years' time, I tried to manage to make a full split, left, right, middle splits, everything. And I still do that, and I still do it every day. And I feel that my body is really trained for that. And I understand that many people did not have the same goal as me, maybe did not have the same time as me, and so on, because for me, Taekwondo, I've do it at least for 35 years professionally. I only did do that. I mean, I did not have another job. I only did Taekwondo all my life.
Yeah.
So, but Master, it's just about investment. I mean, if you want to be a good competitor and you want to be a top competitor, you have to train twice a day. If you train one time a day, like many do, you have no chance to become a world champion. Yeah, maybe you are lucky.
Yeah.
But this is what I always say, even in my own club. In my own club, I say, you can be a top competitor because you have the guts, you have the talent, you have a good mentality, you can be. But if you don't train, forget about it.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a time, and you have to be dedicated to it as well. And I often say to people that it's not about a year, it's not about 2 years, but can you do it for 3, 4, 5 years? Can you keep that momentum and that consistency going? And that's what becomes a true champion. Doing it once is fine, but can you repeat it?
Yeah, and also coming back to the stretching or maybe also like push-ups, whatever, or squats. If you do it every day, it takes 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day to do some dynamic stretching, to do your 40 push-ups, or you do maybe 40 squats. Just do it every day, 7 times a week. Then you do a lot.
Yes,
I mean, that keeps you physical fit. You keep strong. And you don't need to go for. I mean, I will be hopefully next week 70.
Right.
Okay. So I'm not the youngster anymore, but still I can get up with a lot of things what other people do, because I do it every day.
Yes. Yeah.
But not for hours, because I am not interested to go to the gym for 3-4 hours a day. I just go, I do my own workouts, or I teach 3 times a week. I teach, and that's it. It's more than enough just to keep fit and to be updated with the things.
Yeah. No, definitely. Leading on from that, I started. My first school was in 1983. When my first school, and I went professional then. I was an aircraft engineer then. And I left that. I was very well paid at that time.
Yeah.
And then I started my school, and then I wasn't very well paid. But the thing I find now with the change between those days and these days is generally when I started teaching people and started teaching maybe youngsters, most people could come in and they could do maybe 5, 10 really good press-ups. Now I find that very rare that people come in and they can do that. Certainly in the UK where I teach, I don't find that. I don't know whether that's been your experience so far. People don't seem to be as fit as they were sort of base level. I don't know your experience on that.
Okay, well, let's say in our school, I teach together with my son, with Timothy.
Yes.
We do the Taekwondo, and we also have kickboxing, of course.
Yes.
But with the Taekwondo class, we have 3 levels. So we have the kids to 8 years old, and we have another group from, let's say, 9 to 12, 13, and then we have, let's say, the adults class. Adults class is really difficult because adults, you don't get adults anymore, especially. I don't know what happens in the life. 40 years ago, it was only adults, and now it's only youngsters.
Yes.
90% is youngsters. If I get an adult, we got let's say after the holidays, September, October, let's say last month, we got 4, 5 adults, new adults, but we got 20, 25 youngsters. So and if they come inside, yes, the first lessons for them, they are terrible, because I always say, we work 1 hour and you have to work 1 hour. Doesn't matter if you're a white belt or you're black belt. You come here, right away you have to know what is our sequence, how we train, how fast, whatever. But after 1 month, they can do easily 10, 15 push-ups. Because I always tell them, you come to our gym, you train 2 times a week, 3 times a week, okay? Don't waste your time the other days that you're not coming. Do the exercises, what we did yesterday. Do them today in your home and repeat the push-ups, do the squats, do some stretching, and repeat it at home. 10, 15 minutes doesn't cost you nothing.
Yes.
A day has 24 hours. If you have 20 minutes available, do something.
Yeah.
And people do that because I really stress them on that. Yeah, because if you come to our gym twice a week, you train twice a week, 1 hour, you make never effort. You never get better. It's not possible. I said, but do something at home to be physical fit, and then being fitter, you can also do more in the gym.
Yes, definitely.
They get the point. They get the point.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's one of my sayings is it's what you do every day that makes the difference. And I think that needs to be the case, particularly with something like martial arts. But no, thank you for your insight to that. One thing that I always like to ask as well, sir. Now, I've got a couple of passions other than Taekwondo. I like the audience won't see it, but here's my guitar collection.
Wow.
I play music. I love music.
But you have Fender or Gibson?
I've got 2 Fenders.
Okay, which one?
I've got a Fender Stratocaster, the blue one here. That's my other Fender's in there. I've got a Telecaster, which is a copy Fender, that one.
Wow.
And some acoustic guitars, but I love.
And your Marshall there?
Oh yes, yeah. So I've got a few musical things. I also play harmonica as well.
Wow.
And my other love is motorbikes. But I always like to ask my guests, apart from when they're not doing Taekwondo, what other passions do they have? What do you like to do? If you're not kicking and punching.
No, really, I admire you, because really I love music. When I was a kid, I played drums.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but only until I was 13, 14 years old. So, but I love the music, and I really admire people that can play the guitar or piano. I really admire that. But unfortunately, I got so much involved in Taekwondo. There was so much a big passion for me.
Yes.
That all my time, and I'm not as at the age now, but all my time went into that, into training, into traveling, into teaching, into this and that. that doesn't mean that you cannot play 20 minutes a day for a guitar. But I needed to have also an instructor to go and to take lessons and so on and so on. But it never really came up to me. But I really admire people. And I can assure you, I look all sports. Yes. And when I see people that do breakdance or go whatever on their new bikes and what they do, and what people can do nowadays is so unbelievable. And I really admire all those people, what they can do. I cannot do that anymore, but still, you know. But music has always been my big passion. Yeah. But I can't play.
Yeah. Well, it's great. I've tried to. Funny enough, I started playing music around the same time as I started Taekwondo, but my music did suffer because of the Taekwondo, because I spent so much time doing it. But the good thing about it is we had a group of us that used to play together, and we were all black belts. So it was great. I had a good friend as well that we used to go and train, and then we used to go and have a jam together.
Wow. What do you want more?
Which is really good.
That's life. That's life.
It was heaven. Definitely, it was heaven. So, you know.
Wow.
It was excellent.
I'm a little bit jealous. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So yeah, I still try and play every day as well. I do I love to train in the morning. I love to do my Taekwondo, my fitness training in the morning, usually sort of 6:30, 7 o'clock. I'm up very early. I go to bed very early, but I'm up very early. And so I do that. Then I play my guitar and play my harmonica.
Wow.
Life is busy because I've still got young children as well. I've got older children. My eldest is 36.
Okay.
And my youngest is 12. And there's 2 in between.
Wow. My eldest is 45.
Okay.
And my youngest is my son Timothy is 25.
Right. Yes. So I still like to and I've encouraged all of them to play music as well.
Yeah, you must.
Yeah, I've encouraged all of them. So
because that's something extra in life. Because music you can play everywhere and with everybody.
Oh, it's good. So I mean, you've managed. You've been very modest actually, because you've managed to achieve a lot in your martial arts career. One of the things I'd like to ask is there anything else apart from continuing to teach and inspire others? Anything else that you see for yourself in martial arts?
You come to a point that you did a lot, especially for the federation, for the World Federation. I mean, I was a treasurer, I was the Secretary General, I was ITF director, and then we had elections, and then you are cut of everything, so you're out. So that's hard, it's a blow in your face, okay? So let's say that in the first years that it was a little bit difficult, but now I got to a point that I said, why I need to worry? I'm not 40, 50. I don't have any other, let's say, the career I had, it's nice, and I can still be around. I can still be helpful if they need me.
Sure.
But for the rest, I mean, I'm a pensioner. I can enjoy my students. I can enjoy my son going around the world, competing, giving seminars, and maybe be useful. And for the rest, I don't have any other, let's say. No, it's okay. It's okay like this, just to be in shape and be around and working for our Italian Federation, where I'm technical director here in Italy for the last 30 years, and try to keep up with my masters. In our organization, we have 20 masters, so to keep up with them and to try to motivate them, of course, to keep going.
Yes,
And also they motivate me, naturally, of course, also to keep going. So
sure.
But for the rest, I don't have any, let's say, big challenges to go for.
Yes, definitely. No, that's great. I think it's, as you say, part of what we do is to try and motivate and inspire others. That's my biggest job, I think, for me now is to try and push people forwards, and hopefully they can get the benefits that I've had throughout my martial arts time as well, through that. So definitely.
Yeah, I think it's important for yourself that you are you have your club, let's say, and then what do you want to do with the club? Now, what do you want? What do you want to create? Super competitors, or you just want to have a club that has so many people that makes you also give you a good living. Of course, we have to be honest with each other, because the club gives you a certain income, and with this income you can have a better life, and so on and so on. It's always to make the balance of the things. My wife always complains with me because she said you are too competitive. The people, there's only 1 on 1,000 people that really can make it to the top. I mean, that can be a super competitor that can, and that is also someone that can go on and take on all his life, like for example what I do. And there are not so many people like yourself and myself that go and put so much efforts, and that all their life are always in Taekwondo, always there, always around, always everywhere. I try to go everywhere. If there's a competition, I try to go there and try to be present and to enjoy, because I like the competition.
Yes, yeah. No, that's good. Actually, I'm sort of coming back to the training aspects of Taekwondo. There actually was one question that I was thinking I must ask this question, because obviously, you came over when myself and Master Ogborn, we were starting PUMA martial arts, and we were lucky enough to get Major General Choi over to do a seminar for us, which is still absolutely fantastic. And there's members in our organization that still remember it as a challenging weekend, but a very good weekend. One of the things I remember very, very well was when I started that seminar on a Friday, and he started outlining the sine wave to us. My head was exploding at that time. I was thinking, I've never seen this. What is this? And in my mind, I was thinking, I don't think I'm ever going to do this. And obviously, a few years after that, I went to Vienna, for example, in the master's seminar that Major General Choi did before he passed away. But I was going to ask you, because you started very, very early in the early days of Taekwondo, and you were doing the hip twist system, so to speak. How did you find the transition from the hip twist over to sine wave? How did you find that? Was it an easy transition for you?
Well, I can be very honest with you. Of course, I went to a lot of seminars with General Choi.
Yes.
In the beginning it was the hip. There was let's say the karate movement, the Shotokan movement, more or less. Yeah. Okay. So we did a little bit of that for many years, and I remember that very well. And then when you went to a seminar with it, Choi, you came back home, and there was a little bit modification of this and this and that. And then you went to another seminar, and he changed this and this and that. So it went slowly. It came up to you that you had to move a little bit more natural.
Yes.
Yeah. So then because I never talk about sine wave in my gym. I always say you have to bounce your knee in order to make a natural movement, like you walk.
Yes.
I say you don't walk with your legs straight. You bend your knees when you walk. It's the same in Taekwondo. And when you walk, you go a little bit up, you go a little bit down, and that's the same. So the sine wave, I think people really misunderstand the talking about the sine wave, also the writing about the sine wave.
Yes.
Because it's exaggerated.
Yes.
The way they show in the design in the papers, that's not true, because it's just a little bit.
Yes.
Because you only drop a little bit in order that you can walk forward, backwards, left, right. That's it.
Yeah.
So I never make a little bit big clue about it. And I also see nowadays the sine wave is just a little bit, because people are much more natural in their movement now. They have much more experience, and they have better instructors how to teach to the people, and so on and so on. I think it was a big exaggeration always in the past, and maybe still, but for some people, the way they teach, in my opinion, in the wrong way. That's my opinion, but okay.
Yeah, I think it's good. One thing I like to say is you should see the sine wave without seeing it.
Exactly.
So as you say, it should look very, very natural. The body should move nice and easy. Once I understood it, I loved it. It was good because it did make my body feel good. But
Yeah,
prior to that, so
because you have this, when you start in a walking position, for example, and you walk forwards, and then you feel that in the moment that you are in the center, you're up, let's say like that, you feel comfortable, no? And then you can go down, and then you can really explode.
yeah,
So I think if you understand the basic of it, that there is a moment of relax, not being tense, and then boom, go for a super dynamic, strong movement with a good, breath control.
sure.
If you can explain to people that and also show them, then they will understand. They also will feel the joy in it, in doing it.
Yes, yeah, definitely, and it does. That's a great word because it does feel good. When I see somebody performing it really well, it makes me happy to see it, and just that relaxation and everything.
I think when we had the last World Cup, for example, a few weeks ago,
yes,
when you see this top competitors, they make no mistakes. It's all perfect.
Yeah,
sometimes it miss a little bit of this skilling, this skilling what you need also, the fire in the eyes. That's what I miss with 90% of people on the floor. I miss the fire in the eyes, the will of really hurting a person.
Yes.
It's all perfect. It's all in place. It's all whatever, but there's no.
Well, so you're a man from my own heart because I think people often realize that they forget the martial part of the art because the bottom line is it's there to break and hurt if you have to defend yourself, and I think that's very, very important.
I think that there is also something that we got this when we started. I mean, this having pain by blocking and being more realistic. That was our beginning, no?
Yes.
But this beginning people have not anymore. Because we don't do this anymore, that we hurt each other or whatever, that we block. We don't do that anymore.
No.
So this comes also back to the competitors. I mean, they are all perfect. They kick well. They are flexible. They are very, very precise. But really, that this guts that you need to put someone on the floor.
Yes,
yeah. That's what I miss. That's what I miss more and more.
Well, yeah, and I think also, if you go back to those days, the 60s and 70s of sparring, I remember we would we'd do our basics, and then the instructor would say, line up, right now spar, but there was no put your safety equipment on. It was just spar. That's it. And I think at that time you knew that if somebody kicked you hard, it was going to hurt, or they punched you, it was going to hurt. So we got used to no safety equipment. I actually remember the very first time I put safety equipment on, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it. It was really strange. It was actually Junri gloves. Junri.
Yeah, the yellow ones.
Yes. I put those on. I think, wow, this is strange. My hand felt like it was huge.
Yeah, that was also the moment, that you have all these phases of different kind of sparring in the years, because I also sparred from 1969 to 73. There was no equipment. We had no equipment. So from 1973, then we got this equipment. So we also started to kick double, because in the beginning you didn't needed to kick double because the hands was easy.
Okay. We're back. We're back. Sorry, I lost you there. I think I'm not sure if it was mine. I think it was my connection, but we lost you. But so you were saying about the safety equipment we were doing.
Yeah. That was something. Yeah, in the beginning there wasn't safety equipment. You just hit each other with the bare hands.
Yes, yeah. But I remember my very first competition. In fact, I had there was no weights as well. There was no weights, and they just said, right, green belt's over there. So I went over there, and there was all these big guys. I'm only 5'5", and I had my ribs broken, but it's with a punch. And that was it. And I remember going home, and my mum said, "Oh, you're not going to do that again, are you?" I said, "Yeah, I loved it. It was great."
Yeah, I remember, for example, my instructor. We come back to hurting each other. This is a nice thing because the people that listen to us, they don't know what we are talking about. I remember on Saturday we always had the special competition class with our head instructor. That was in another place in Groningen, so 20 kilometers away from my house. And I remember in the end of the training of those trainings, we always had to line up the competitors and take the kimono out. That was the old ones. So you put it behind. Yeah. So you had the body, let's say you are naked in the front.
Yeah.
So, and then he had this stick, like the kendo stick.
Yeah.
So we had to stay in line, in one line, tuck, 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 tuck. And then he was there with his stick and he said, "Are you ready?" Yeah, well, we already knew what was coming, no? So we got the hit on the stomach. hard. That was part of our training.
Yeah.
But at that time I was, let's say 17, 18. I was 16, 17 years old, and I was still at home. So I never could show my mother my stomach because there were always two stripes.
Across it.
But I loved it. Yeah. I couldn't take care if it was hurting me or whatever. It was just to be tough.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it was very much like that. But well, we're coming to the end of the podcast shortly. Well, there's always a couple of things really that I'd like to ask from you, sir, and that is that maybe sometime in the future you'll come on and do this again, and we'll just maybe talk about things that have happened maybe in the Taekwondo world. So I'd love to do that. The second thing is that if you need anything, we can put some things in the show notes, maybe about your association, your schools. It's up to you. But I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to share your Taekwondo life, your experiences in Taekwondo with the Living Martial Arts audience. I'm sure that this episode is going to be played by many people, and I will make sure that I'll tell my students it's their duty to listen because they're going to be listening to somebody who is a legend in the Taekwondo channels. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Master. It was really enjoyable to talk about, let's say, about the old times. Yes. And maybe next time when we have another talk, we can talk about the new times. Yes,
definitely. That would be really nice. Thank you very, very much. If I can ask you just to stay there for a moment when I close down, I'd like to say to everyone, thank you very much for listening. Thank you to Grandmaster Wim Bos for his time. And please leave your comments about this podcast in the usual places. Thank you very much, and hopefully I'll catch up with you all very, very soon.